that in a global economy, in today's global economy, knowledge is a privileged thing. In what situation, where are we then with regard to the financial resources vis-a-vis the comparison between the financial resources and knowledge? What's the relationship there?
I don't know that I exactly understand the question, but let me go ahead and try, and hopefully I'm responding to what you asked. In this new economy, information and knowledge are the core and the driving factors. Given that, organizations need to make those kinds of investments, and some of that might be in capital equipment to facilitate the processing of information, but much of it also has got to be in the softer investments in the people who possess, who are able to identify, who are able to process, who are able to create knowledge, as well as strategize applications for it. It is not inexpensive, obviously, to do those kinds of things. Traditionally, those have not always been very high priorities in the budgets of organizations. And what I guess I am trying to preach and what I am saying is that organizations that are moving out aggressively and are having an effect on the new economy as major participants are the organizations that are making those kinds of investments. We just have to push them push our leadership to accept these as high priorities.
Our next question is from la Universidad Autónoma de Guadalajara, en Guadalajara, el estado de Jalisco, en México.
Buenos días. Nuestra pregunta es la siguiente. ¿Qué estrategia
what convenient strategy should you adopt for workers who fail in the company so that you don't fire them, because this not only affects the people but also the society, the community at large, and the country?
I may want to read more into your question than you intended, but that is an excellent question. That is a major challenge, not just to people like myself whose primary career is in human resources management, but for the chief executive officers of all of our organizations, as well as for the national leaders of our countries. I have a concern, if I'll start at the top and come down into organizations, in this new economy, which is driven again by knowledge and by information. It would suggest that those people who do not acquire the knowledge, who are not motivated to acquire it, or lack the capacity to acquire it, will become non-participants. In the old days, we would say there were the haves and the have-nots. In this economy, I think there will be participants and non-participants. One of the things within organizations that we need to do is to get this message across to our people. Ultimately, a gentleman by the name of Malcolm Knowles once defined maturity as that point when a person becomes responsible for their own learning. And we need to build the maturity of the people in our organizations, that they recognize what they need to learn. And then we need to facilitate that, and to facilitate it as efficiently as possible. But there are absolutely going to be people who are either not going to be equipped or prepared to cross that bridge, and we will have to do those things which move them out of the organization to the levels where they're able to participate. And that's part of what downsizing is all about, reconciling the skills, mismatch issues as they develop, and part of this new economy is that those mismatch issues are increasing all of the time. Where we can retrain people, that's what we need to be doing. Where we can't, we need to help people to move off into areas where they are able to make a contribution with maybe not quite the same level of knowledge and information.
Let us now begin with Module 2, in which Mr. Finnigan will discuss the image of an international organization which will assure success in the future.
In his book, Learning as a Way of Being, Strategies for Surviving in a World of Whitewater, Peter Vail highlighted the theme of change by pointing out that the more the pace of change quickens and chaos in an organization increases, the more absurd it is to rely solely on traditional approaches. He said that the real issue underlying change is learning, because a learning perspective is fundamental to dealing with complex environments. This means learning to effectively use knowledge about our organization, our competition, and our customers. Knowledge about yourself is essential because only when you know your organization's full story can it propel you to the next level of understanding. Let me give you an example. Zurich American, an insurance company, segmented its markets and targeted specific industries such as retail, food, chemical pharmaceuticals, equipment manufacturers, and so on, for detailed studies. Then they conducted extensive primary and secondary research into those industries in order to understand them fully. The firm's training efforts then were redirected to teach frontline people and support people about these industries. As a result, Zurich American has become so knowledgeable about themselves and the industries they serve that they can pull together and aggregate claim data to provide customers with benchmarks to compare themselves against the industry averages. This helps Zurich's customers identify where to focus their loss prevention activities. Another example. For years, AT&T has known what it had to do to meet multinational customers' demands for quality global service. But because of competition, they started to probe deeper to understand their customers' needs. They realized that quality networks are only part of the value that they could offer. They learned that customers also wanted strong local support, customized to their local business operations. This meant AT&T had to go beyond the standards that they had set for domestic and global service. To support their multinational customers in their global operations, AT&T had to supplement their global support structure with local knowledge and local expertise. So they developed alliances and other partnerships throughout the world to provide that local support. One of these is the World Partners Association, which AT&T formed in 1993, along with KDD of Japan and Singapore Telecom. World Partners today is an alliance of 16 like-minded customer-driven carriers committed to providing highly reliable, borderless voice and data communication services to multinational corporations with an emphasis on expert local support. On a regional level, AT&T has also formed alliances that link its global reach with local expertise. It provides services in the United Kingdom through AT&T Communications UK Limited. In continental Europe, it's through AT&T Unisource. In Canada, through Unitel. And in Mexico, through Alestra. Standards adopted by these ventures are the same as they are for AT&T's U.S.-based services. The ability to provide unique solutions to customers' business problems is a hallmark of a knowledge-rich company and a great source of competitive advantage to those who do it well. Few companies do it better than AMP, the $5 billion world leader in the development and manufacture of electrical interconnection services. The commitment and ability to develop and share valuable knowledge, both with their customers and their 40,000 people around the world, is a key enabler of AMP's success. The tools they use to transfer that knowledge to their customers are a fascinating range from highly sophisticated electronic delivery to face-to-face meetings. With customers, they use a unique agenda, including such things as engineering consulting services, digital engineering data online and on disk, and the AMP fax system, which gives customers immediate access to more than 70,000 AMP drawings, specifications, instruction sheets, and related documents, all of which can be automatically transmitted to customer fax machines within minutes of the request. Their latest customer-driven innovation is AMP Connect, a multilingual internet catalog of AMP products that allows customers to quickly, easily, and electronically tap into a wealth of data 24 hours a day. From virtually anywhere in the world, at any hour of the day or night, customers, currently over 24,000 worldwide, can search alphabetically by product picture or by part number for detailed information on all of AMP's standard part numbers. Before knowledge can be harnessed as a competitive tool and business resource, it must be extracted out of the great bombardment of daily news and information. Targeted information needs to be identified for its relevance to business needs and then distributed to everyone who can act on it. But even with such knowledge captured and put to good use, unless it includes sound information about your industry leaders and closest competitors, it will lack the means to be effective. This is so because organizations throughout the world, business competitors included, are focusing on productivity improvements to achieve higher rates of return and superior customer satisfaction. Therefore, you cannot gain an advantage over these competitors without an intense knowledge of their best practices. Pursuing this knowledge is known as benchmarking. Benchmarking is defined as a continuous, systematic process for evaluating the products, services, and work processes of organizations that are recognized as representing best practices for the purpose of organizational improvement. There are many reasons for doing benchmarking, but the 5 best reasons are meeting end-user customer requirements, establishing goals on a clear view of external conditions, determining true measures of productivity, attaining a competitive position, and becoming aware of and searching for your industry's best practices. This is why benchmarking is often called the process of an ongoing search for best practices. There are many models for benchmarking, but perhaps the simplest is a 4-phase model: establishing a study plan, conducting a benchmarking study, diagnosing what you have learned, and internalizing the results and taking action. The model is really nothing more than 15 questions. Under the first phase, establishing a study plan, there are 3 questions. What will be benchmarked? Who will be benchmarked? How will you collect the data? In the second phase, conducting the study, there are also 3 questions. Who will conduct the study? How do you conduct a plant visit? What are the ethics of benchmarking? In phase 3, diagnosing the data, there are 4 questions. Is the competition better? How much better? Why are they better? And what can be learned? The final phase, internalizing the results and taking action, has the most questions. Have the stakeholders bought in? Do goals have to be changed? Have new goals been communicated? Are actions being taken to change? And is the progress being monitored? Almost anything can be benchmarked, but the most common subjects that organizations study are technology delivery, time to market, unit manufacturing costs, customer delivery processes, and product quality. But in truth, anything can be benchmarked. I've talked about benchmarking in the past, so I don't think we need to spend a lot of time on the subject here or the model, other than to take a few minutes on what is done with the data once it has been gathered. Because what is learned is knowledge. Knowledge about your industry, knowledge about your competition. After you have analyzed the data from a benchmarking study, the benchmark should be obvious. A benchmark represents the level of performance which is clearly superior and is being achieved by at least one of the partners in the study. It is the gap between your organization's performance and the leader, or vice versa, on what you studied. Once you've identified the gap and the leader, the key question is why? What is driving that level of superior performance? Is it productivity investments, technology, training, workforce issues like pay, hours of work, etc.? And after you've completed your assessment of why a performance gap exists between yourself and your partner, the next point is to consider its longer-term effect. Will the disadvantage between you and the leader improve or get worse over time? The answer to this question is found by projecting the gap based on expected future performance and trends. In fact, if you know the reasons for the gap, have some knowledge of the benchmarking leader's past trends, and have identified the drivers, then you have everything that you will need to make a reliable projection of their and your future performance. The Z-chart is a graph which portrays a benchmark leader's measure against yourself. It calibrates the size of the gaps and how they might change in the future. It shows both the trend without taking any corrective action and the future gap when action is taken, making it easier for people to understand both the study and the meaning of the gap. Finally, how will this knowledge be used? The best way to optimize use of a Z-chart is to explain your analysis of the data in terms of 2 categories of action. Tactical actions. These are real gains in productivity achieved through gradual, deliberate changes to an organization's processes. Tactical actions are taken to achieve an objective that is planned to be accomplished in, say, 1 or 2 years. Strategic actions. When a benchmarking partner's leadership has been achieved by an industry leading best practice, it is most often as the result of some strategic planning. To overcome a performance leader's superiority that is the result of strategic planning requires strategic actions, because the intent of strategic plans is broader than tactical, and a wide course of action is necessary to attain the new goal. Unfortunately, knowing your industry's leaders and what they do well and why, and implementing corrections is not going to be enough. There is a more important audience our organizations must serve. If there were an 11th commandment for business, it would be this: know thy customer. Any company that hopes to win the hearts and wallets of customers over the long term must have in place a process to identify and meet customer expectations. We call the consumers of our products and services customers. Often today, we refer to them as clients. Why? Do you know what the words mean? The word client comes from the Latin cliens, meaning follower or retainer. The root of the word is the Latin claei, to lean or incline. The basic sense of the term is one leaning on another, usually for protection. To a Roman, a client was a person dependent on a patron. The way we use the word client today, it is more from the word clientele, which is French, and originally was used to describe a habitual customer of a store or hotel. This led to the French word customer, meaning a person who buys, especially one who buys regularly. Colloquially, the word customer has come to mean anyone with whom we have to deal. So, a client is a person or organization that we are trying to establish a mutually beneficial relationship with. Someone who becomes so dependent upon our product or service that they keep coming back. The word service is also from the French, from the word service, meaning the condition of a servant, or the work done for a master or superior. Today, service is generally accepted to mean work done for others. Another important term for us to understand is quality, which is usually defined as that which makes a thing what it is. In its most common use, quality identifies the positive nature of a thing or a person. But in the industrial world, the word quality has come to mean meeting the customer's requirements. So we can say that quality means providing the client the service they wish. Ivan Negron, who runs Xerox's Guatemalan operations, points out that his competitors basically offer the same features as does Xerox, and the only difference is service. He says we need to identify our customers' requirements and match them with our systems, because it all comes down to value invested versus value received. Negron says his job is to show the client the value he receives by acquiring one of our systems. And he accomplishes that job in part by investing in the people that work for Xerox of Guatemala, especially the ones that have direct contact with the customer, sales personnel and technicians. How can I expect you to fix a machine if your training is incomplete? He says. Negron is expanding his opportunities by setting up a competency center in the electronic printing arena in his Guatemalan office to test the products with solutions applied to the Guatemalan and Central American markets. It used to be that many companies viewed customers as necessary inconveniences, like vaccinations. You had to have them, but it was often painful. But when all is said and done, customers pay the bills. The question is, how can we realize the greatest profits from customers? And the answer is that we have to make a lot of current and potential customers want to do business with us. No problem given a product that is in high demand and short supply, in which we have a monopoly. But I doubt if that is the case for most of us. So to get customers to behave in the marketplace the way we would like them to, we have to give them value and a competitively superior experience. That means that our product, service, and price, as well as the pleasure of dealing with our people, must be good enough to weigh in our favor more often than not. What is value to a customer? Organizations that have surveyed their customers know what they expect from them, providing the client what he or she expects. This research indicates that customers express their view of value leadership in 3 categories. Product leadership. They say things like, that supplier's the most innovative. They're constantly renewing and creating, always on the leading edge. Number 2, operational excellence. And customers say things like, a great price, a no-hassle firm, they never make mistakes. 3rd, customer-supplier intimacy. And here customers say things like, their services are unique, exactly what I needed. They're very responsive. Of course, delivering your customers the value they desire is done through your business practices, how you run your organization to meet your customers' requirements. But the first step is to determine your customers' needs, their wants, their expectations. Only then can you begin to meet their expectations in ways that lead to profitable growth. Visiting with your customer is key to learning what they require. To do this effectively means developing skills for obtaining detailed information about customer needs, customer applications, and customer environments. Forum Corporation in Massachusetts has developed a process for making customers' expectations explicit and clear. It is called a Customer Expectations Map. The map is a detailed list of the expectations that customers have of a product or service and its providers. Structured to be easy to understand and use, the map process helps educate employees what matters to customers. It also helps employees think through the processes and the design and development of a product or service. The map can also be a springboard to a deeper understanding of your customers. For example, the content of an expectation map answers the question, what should we ask in our customer satisfaction survey? The bald truth is that most customer surveys miss the mark in important ways, which means that companies that survey their customers often make decisions based on incomplete information. Think back on your own experience as a consumer. How often have you said, that survey just didn't seem relevant? Well, perhaps you never said it exactly like that, but I think you understand and get the point. Typically, customers have 3 categories of expectations. Product quality, that is what they actually receive, which includes service when service is a product. Service quality, their experience in receiving a product. And cost, how much they have to spend over time for the privilege of owning or using the product or service. Therefore, the largest part of a customer expectations map involves these domains: product quality, service quality, and cost. Typically, a group of customers will have between 25 and 75 expectations at the category level, which can provide great information for customer satisfaction surveys and customer service training. Let me give you an example. This comes from a convenience store chain. Under service quality, the chain identified 5 areas that they and customers could assess: reliability, assurance, tangibles, empathy, and responsiveness. Now, let me walk you through these. Reliability concerns dependability, meeting promises, continuity of staff, and consistency of performance. Some of the expectations the customer had, the convenience store had into this category was accuracy, visible and accurate prices, correct change provided, needed items in stock, and under that can find the specific item. Advertised specials were in stock. Another subcategory was reliable equipment, equipment that worked and is maintained properly. The beverages that stayed cold, telephones that work. Under consistent layout, they identified standardized layout from store to store. And another subcategory was always open, that it was open 24 hours a day. The assurance category had to do with the ability to inspire customers' trust and confidence, like sanitary conditions and cleanliness, competent employees, security, courteous employees, concern for the environment, family values. Convenience store under tangibles identified including the physical manifestations of service, like ease of use, easy to read and see, the quality of the internal environment, the smell, the lighting, the employees well-groomed, store fixtures, having an ATM, telephone, carts, baskets, restrooms, parking, advertising, promotion. Under empathy, they referred to practices that suggest respect, caring, individual attention, like convenience, variety of payment options, credit cards, ATMs, checks, cash, openness to ideas, good service. Under responsiveness, they shared such things as employees' willingness or readiness to help and provide timely service, like quick checkout, quick deli service, wide variety of items and services. Now, specifically, what is an expectation? An expectation is a desired state of affairs. It defines the ideal interaction with a provider and its product or service. For example, I might expect a 30-minute wait in line for a popular ride at an amusement park, based upon my previous experience or word of mouth. But if I observe that the park seems understaffed and disorganized, and not especially concerned about customers, my view might change. If I recall advertising promises that said, no wait for most rides, and if I remember a similar park where I never had to wait for more than 10 minutes, all things being equal, my expectation is that this park should not make me wait too long for my ride. If it does, I won't return. It is that kind of expectation that is part of an expectations map. The heart of expectations mapping is that a customer's quality judgments, and to a significant degree their motivations and actions in the marketplace, are influenced by their perceptions of how well a provider has performed according to expectations. That makes us want to explore the gap between customers' expectations and their perceptions of our performance. Unfortunately, customer expectations are more often implicit than explicit. A customer may not think